Hi guys, it's Megan, and in today's Tech in 10, we're going to be chatting about how you can use Screencastify for you and for your students, whether you're working in a remote learning situation or even in a face-to-face classroom. We're going to talk about how to add the extension, how it works, and give you a few suggestions on where you might want to use this in your remote or face-to-face lessons. So let's dive in. So first thing, let's talk about how to actually get the Screencastify extension. I'm going to read through the directions here, so if you want to pause the video and do these steps, you can, and then I'll go through and show you quickly live. First thing you need to make sure you've done is signed into the Chrome browser, whether you're on your Chromebook or using a Chrome browser. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the Chrome Web Store. From there, you're going to search for Screencastify, add the extension to Chrome, and approve any permissions that it asks. Keep in mind that you might have to check with your school or district technology person to make sure that Screencastify is an approved extension through your district. Oftentimes extensions can be blocked, but things like this, if you just ask, usually will be approved and allowed for you to add them. Or your district can even push them out to you and the teachers at your school or through the district. From there, once you have it added, you're going to get free pro access into the end of this current school year. Screencastify has done that to help support teachers during this time of remote learning, but once we go back to school or into a regular situation for the 2020-2021 school year, you'll still have access. It just might not be the pro account, but you do have the option to buy that, and it's a pretty reasonable price per year if you want all of the pro features that come along with it. I'm going to show you how to do this live just so you have a look. The Chrome Web Store can be found through your Apps button or by Googling Chrome Web Store. And then once you're in, you'll search Screencastify. From here, you'll choose Add to Chrome. You can see that mine says Rate It because I already have it, but you'll see a button more like this. You'll choose that Add to Chrome, allow the permissions, and then this little extension, it looks kind of like an arrowhead, will add up next to your Omnibox. Now that you've got Screencastify added to your Chrome browser, let's talk about how making the screen recordings actually works. Remember I told you that little icon that looks kind of like an arrowhead would add up to next to your Omnibox. To activate Screencastify, you choose that extension, and then you pick which type of recording you would like to make. Just the browser tab, your entire desktop, or webcam only. I tend to use the desktop with the webcam embedded or just the desktop alone, but you have those options that you can choose from. Embedding the webcam is great right now because it gives you the ability for your students to see your face as you make these recordings. So it kind of gives them a sense of normalcy when they see you when you're actually teaching. But if you're not comfortable with that yet, you can keep that switched off and they will only hear your voice recording over what's on your screen. So like I said, I'm going to turn that on so you can see an example of that. And then you're going to choose Record. You can notice my screen's going to come up and it will count you down after you choose what screen you want. Do you want your entire screen or just the application window? Depending on if you have other tabs open, you may just want to choose application window, but I'm going to go ahead and go with my entire screen. Notice it counts down, and now I'm recording. I'm going to choose to hide this little menu at the bottom so that it's not distracting, and I can also drag and drop my webcam wherever I want it to be on the screen. So if I'm going to read this excerpt of Because of Winn-Dixie to my students, they can see my face as I'm reading it to them and also hear my voice. So it's almost like we would just be reading in the classroom. That summer I found Winn-Dixie was also the summer me and the preacher moved to Naomi, Florida, so he could be the preacher at the Open Arms Baptist Church of Naomi. My daddy is a good preacher and a nice man, but sometimes it's hard for me to think about him as my daddy because he spends so much time preaching or thinking about preaching or getting ready to preach. This is a really great example of a way to use Screencastify because your students can hear the pauses you make whenever there's a period or a comma, which we know for our young readers is very important for them to hear so they can then mimic that in their own reading. Once you're done with your recording, go back up to the extension, and from here you can either choose to pause or stop, which if we're done, we're going to hit stop. But there's also a refresh and a delete icon as well. So if you know you don't want to use this recording, maybe you messed up, you can delete it and start over. I'm going to go ahead and choose stop. And then from here, you'll notice the different settings that I get. Notice it is automatically saving to my Google Drive. This is my favorite thing about Screencastify. It automatically links in to my drive and I don't have to do any extra downloading steps. I can also come up here and name it. So maybe this is called Because of Winn-Dixie. And then you'll notice here I get an option to copy a shareable link, or once it finishes saving to my drive, I can either share it directly to Google Classroom right here, get a YouTube link and publish it to YouTube, or get an embedded code if I'm going to put it on a website or something like that. I also have the ability to download it, and you can export them as MP4s. You can make animated GIFs. You have that because of the Pro version access, or you can even just export the audio. So several different options you can do right there in that screen, and I really just love that it's very simple and automatically does that for me as far as saving to my drive. So in my drive, you'll notice now that I have a folder called Screencastify. All my videos are going to record and save in there without me even having to do anything. I'm going to talk about these options here in just a little while when I give you some lesson examples, so just keep in mind when I'm referencing that, that's what I mean when I say publish to YouTube or share directly to Classroom. So easy as that. Click the arrowhead, choose how you want to record, hit record, and then when you're done you hit stop and it will bring you to here to automatically save. Now that we've got you with Screencastify added to your browser and you know how to make your recordings, let's talk about a couple of lesson or application ideas. So here are just a few to get you started and get you thinking of ways that you can go and use Screencastify for you and for your students. You can use them to teach mini lessons so that students can still get that face-to-face component. So whether you're doing an example like I showed you of reading an excerpt from a book or teaching a math lesson, they still get that lecture, so to say, piece of their lesson. You can also explain your self-recording directions for tasks. This is really great for parents to also see you explaining so they can help their children with the work that you've assigned. Both of those can easily be shared to Google Classroom using that Share to Classroom directly from the recording, or you can add it as a file from your drive when you're making the assignment in Classroom. You can also record feedback on students' work, whether you're using docs or slides or forms, whatever it may be. You can make a quick recording of yourself and upload it in the private comments of the assignment so that only that student sees their feedback. You can also record yourself asking formative assessment questions and put them in a Google form. I showed you about the YouTube link that you can generate. So most Google apps allow you to upload a file from Google Drive, such as a video, but if they don't, there's usually an option to embed a YouTube video. So if you grabbed the link as a YouTube link instead of a Google Drive link, you can easily insert those recordings that you did without having to go and upload them to YouTube and go through all those steps. It will automatically link it up for you. This is really great for those of you who may be teaching a foreign language class. That way the students can actually hear you speaking in that language and answer those questions. And lastly, this is a great way to encourage students to use this to make recordings, even if it's something as simple as them doing a 30-second clip of them checking in on what they've been doing during this time, or if they need to ask you questions, explaining things they may be confused about. Just a great way for them to express themselves virtually instead of through typing or email or something like that. Lastly, before I leave you, couple things I wanted you to remember. When you are sharing these files with students, so if you're going to insert them in a Google Slides presentation or something like that, make sure that the folder in your drive has the permission set to anyone with the link can view. If not, they're going to get an error and they're not going to be able to watch the video unless it's coming directly from you showing it, which during this time virtually, you're probably not going to be face-to-face with them showing them the video yourself. So make sure that you've turned on anyone with a link can view. And lastly, if you're looking for ways to get Screencastify certified, they do offer courses. They have a masterclass, which would be great for you to watch after this. If you're new to Screencastify, you'll get a little more in-depth tutorial there. They also have a Genius course that goes beyond the basics and talks about how Screencastify integrates with all parts of the Google for Education suite. That one is really great. I really encourage that one. And then you can even encourage your students to go and do the Master Screencast Junior course, and they can learn all about how they can use Screencastify as well.